Okay. There. Okay, we are live, and Laura's here. Hi, Laura.
Okay,
Oops,
we are live. And
volume.
Laura's here. Hi, Laura. Okay, we are live.
There we go. So Laura's here. Hi, Laura. Kathy's here. Hi, Kathy. Yes, we are well, except Typhoid Mary over here. The hydrochronic hydro.
I have a cold.
He has a cold. He's been taking his temperature every half hour and a half hour. He actually does have a slightly raised temperature. I have a slightly lowered temperature. In Fahrenheit, I'm sitting at about 96.1. Normal is 98.1. And you just took yours when?
Well, I had 98.7 or something like that.
So really, nothing much with that. It's just a cold. But nevertheless, we are taking precautions.
I know, a fine time for me
Hi,
to get
Cindy.
a cold.
Yeah, really. We had plans. Those had to be canceled. But then again, everything's been canceled with all of this, as I'm sure everybody knows. Cindy says, I'm just getting over my cold. So, yeah. So anyways, on this edition of Live, we can't help but not talk about the coronavirus, although, quite frankly, like everybody else, probably sick and tired of hearing about it, since every time you turn on TV, all they do is talk about the coronavirus. But today I thought we'd talk somewhat about how it's affecting us. It's affecting everybody in the world, obviously. And also we want to talk about the retreat because we had that last weekend, and that's why we were not on the air on Sunday. We were going to be, but we just had too much stuff to unpack, and to be honest, we were a little bit exhausted from the retreat, and we'll tell you why in a few minutes. And if you watched my vlog earlier this week, I did discuss some of this already, but we'll talk a little bit about it in a little bit more detail in a moment or two. So let's see who's joining us. So hi, Cindy again, and Andy's here. Hi, Andy, and Virginia, and Marcia's here. Hi, Marcia. Cindy says, do you have toilet paper shortage in your area? Oh, yeah. Yes, we do.
The shelves of the grocery stores are completely cleaned out.
Yep. Everything you've been seeing on TV has been true in our area, too. I mean, at Costco, we live about a couple of miles away from a Costco. And on, what day was it? Last week we went into the Costco. Tuesday. Last Tuesday we went into Costco. Not specifically to buy toilet paper. We had a couple of other things we wanted to get, which had nothing to do with, people cleaning everything off the shelves. But we thought we'd investigate the toilet paper situation while we were there. None to be had. It was gone. And then we went up to Walmart, and we did manage to get, and again, we had a good supply because we had just stocked up in Costco back before all this really got started. So we were okay, but just like everybody else, mob mentality. We got carried away with the spirit of toilet paper buying, and there were two big, roll sets. And it was an astronomical price, really, for toilet paper.
It was double the price.
It was basically double, and that's at Walmart.
Walmart, yeah.
And you can't tell me they're not gouging, because they are. They are, for sure. And then you went shopping on... Thursday or something, and you said pasta and...
Yeah, pasta and pasta sauce, and it was pretty much eliminated from the shelves. Flour was eliminated from the shelves.
Yeah, the food infrastructure is not being majorly affected by this. The only reason this stuff isn't in the grocery stores is they haven't had the time to restock, because people, for some reason, are having this panic buy thing. Which really, why? Why is there a panic? And why did it start with toilet paper? I mean, okay, yes, when you think about it, toilet paper is one of those things that really
I
we
think because the
need.
news showed a bunch of people walking out of Walmart with a whole pile of toilet paper, well, I guess it started in Australia.
It started in Australia. Those two women fighting over rolls of toilet paper. And that went viral. on the internet and on the news and everything. And suddenly people got this idea, oh, we're having shortages. We're not having any shortages. Everything is still running. It's just people are panicking. Dana says Walmart in Regina sold 11 pallets in less than 3 hours. And Cindy says, that's what I asked them at Walmart. Laura says it's ridiculous, the hoarding. And Virginia says our local Kroger grocery is shortening hours to help with restock. Yeah, I mean, and we saw a thing last night on YouTube. A guy was doing grocery shopping in England, and he was showing the shelves there. You know, it was stuff like pasta, paper products.
Somebody I used to work with posted on Facebook a picture of the pasta shelf in Toronto. And the funny thing is all the regular pasta was sold out, but the ones that were still left on the shelf were all the whole wheat pasta. So I guess they're not into eating healthy.
No, they want the whole wheat. Well, picky. Laura says Amazon and Kijiji shut down a few accounts because they were reselling toilet paper. Yeah, and I think that's got a big bearing on this too. Times like this certainly do. People say times like this bring the best out in people. I don't see it right now. I see it as bringing out the worst in people. If they're gouging us on prices from the corporate point of view, they're also individuals are out there trying to turn a buck by selling toilet paper. You know, really?
Actually, that's not true. Toilet paper in our area is manufactured locally.
Where's that? Oh, someone on the. Yeah, our toilet paper comes locally from it. But, there's a lot of stuff that's in China that's manufactured now. And now Walter just told me that, well, they've moved.
All the Apple stores have closed down with the exception of the ones in China. Because apparently, supposedly, China doesn't have as many cases as the rest of the world now.
Yeah, well, now they're saying the epicenter. We were just watching it on the news. The epicenter is now Europe. And if you see a map where they show where all the stuff is, you have Europe's basically just one big color mass that shows that Europe is like taken over. We've had more cases in Canada. Every province has cases in it now. We have a couple of cases right here in the area that we live, apparently. We heard that on the news, too. So Walter has a shirt making class.
There's 7 cases.
What, there's 7 now?
In our area.
So Walter has on Monday night his shirt making class, and then he starts this sniffling. So we've been monitoring his temperature, as I said earlier. But he said the guy that's running the class was sniffling away on Monday night, this past Monday night. And I said, well, maybe you should contact him. We know him. Maybe you should contact him and tell him that you're feeling right now, you think it's just a cold. But, I mean, if he's not being cautious about it and you got a group of people, it's a small group, could spread it. So actually, Walter did contact him. And he actually is one of the people that could be at risk because he says he's got some problems with his immune system. So he decided in consultation with the store that they're going to suspend Walter's class for a little while until we see what happens from it. Now, the same store, like a lot of stores, are sending out emails to their customers saying this is what we're doing during this crisis and all that kind of stuff. Now, most businesses around us anyways are not shutting down. They're just talking about extra precautions they're taking. And really, how can they shut down? I mean, they're recommending that the employees that are not feeling well stay at home and all that stuff. And they're wearing gloves and they're disinfecting public things and stuff that people touch and things like that best they can. But our local quilt store, they're doing the same thing. But I have a class on Tuesday, and it's still running. Now, I feel fine and everything. Nothing wrong with me, but I'm still debating. It's the first class, too, in this series. So I don't know. This is the problem this has put us into, right? Making decisions. And what are people saying? Hi, Chris. Scott Paper in Vancouver has a warehouse stuffed full of toilet paper. My cousin works there. And Chris says Australia has TP issues as well. We now have limits of 1 pack per transaction. There's no hand sanitizer available anywhere. No, there's no hand sanitizer here either. And hand sanitizer sold out where Laura lives as well. Cindy says they still have some sanitizer so far. Well, okay, let's talk about the sanitizer thing for a bit. First of all, hand sanitizer is a bit of a myth. It is better than no washing your hands at all. But I have read things that say that hand sanitizer, depending on the brand you get, all that kind of stuff, has very limited effect on something like a virus. It's also, if you use hand sanitizer too regularly, apparently it almost acts like how they say that if you take antibiotics on a regular basis, that they stop being as effective. I'm not sure how much of that is true, but they're still always saying, go wash your hands. You know what's going to be the next shortage, though, if everybody's using hand sanitizer? Yeah, so, but I was going to say moisturizer, because that stuff dries your hands out. So suddenly there'll be an upcry from everybody, oh, my hands are too dry. Moisturizer. I'm being a little facetious, but you know what I mean. So, I don't know. And then, of course, there's the disinfecting wipes. And we had some in the cupboard. But, yeah, apparently an expert was on a television show I was watching. And she said all those wipes have to be left on the surface after you wipe them. It has to sit for 3 minutes for it to have any effect. Most people dry it up with a paper towel or something immediately after they put it on a surface. So there again, you know, how effective is all of that? I don't know. So I'm not particularly worried about hand sanitizer. Just, you know, we have lots of soap and water and the whole bit. But you know the hardest thing to do is not touch your face. You don't realize how many times in a day you actually touch your face when you're not thinking about it. And now it's like you get real conscious of it, and I start to reach because I got a scratchy nose or something, like I just touched my face now, and that kind of thing. And, you know, these are things that we do unconsciously. Laura says, I'm better off with soap and water, and I just use real cleaner. And Lysol spray needs to dry on the surface too to be effective. Yeah, that's what they were saying. So, you know, if anything out of all of this, I'm learning about sanitizers and the proper use of. No, here he goes, Typhoid Mary. I have to desanitize this. I have to sanitize the screen after this and hose you down with Lysol. So anyways, how's it been affecting us immediately? Well, we can't go visit my mother. They're not letting any visitors into the nursing home. As of Thursday or Friday this week. No, it's Thursday, I think. They sent out an email from the nursing home saying that, nope, not letting anybody in. Now, before then, they were, okay, all this disease is making my nose run now, like as if I've got something and I don't. It's power of suggestion. So when we went last Tuesday to see my mother, when we came in, we had to, the receptionist was right there greeting us with a bottle of sanitizer, although they always have sanitizer all over the place anyways there. But she was making sure we used it, and she was asking us, you know, now have we been anywhere, you know, have we been traveling? We said no, and all that kind of stuff. And she says, I'm sorry, I have to ask these questions. And I said, that's okay. I'm perfectly okay with that. I get it. She says, you wouldn't believe how many people, though, she said, have come into the nursing home and who give her a hard time about hand sanitizer, about the questions she's asking. And my sister was over on Friday, or Thursday, I guess it was, and she said now they had started taking your temperature when you came in too, as well. And there were people that were bitching about that. And like this lady at the desk said, you know, these are your loved ones that are in here. They're the most vulnerable in society. You know, they already have all kinds of problems and things health-wise. Do you really want to be responsible for killing them by giving them this virus kind of a thing? I don't know. I don't get it with some people at all. But anyways, I called my mother and said, okay, she answered the phone. There was a first. And I said, okay, Mom, do you realize that you guys are in lockdown? No visitors are coming in. Well, she'd heard something about that, but wasn't quite sure. So I explained the situation to her. And I said, so Mom, pick up your phone when it rings, because it'll be me or my sister calling you. Kind of a thing, because we can't get in to see you. Simple as that. And I said to her, Mom, it could be a while. It's not going to be over next week. We may not be able to get in to see you for weeks, possibly longer than that. We have no idea. So, she goes, oh, well, next thing I'll hear her whining and bitching that we haven't come over to see her, and I'll have to say to her, Mom, they won't let us in. Okay? In some ways, that's one of the plus sides of this whole disease. But yeah, that sounds nasty. Yeah, Laura, like I was saying, we have no idea. I would anticipate that they're not going to lift the lockdown. I think the earliest would be next month, because everything seems to revolve now around a couple of dates. The end of this month and the end of the next month. So who knows? Who knows when it's going to be? If she's not getting visitors, she would probably be more likely to pick up the phone. Yeah, you'd think that, wouldn't you? No, not my mother, because that would be effort. And I've already talked about how my mother doesn't like to exert herself. That kind of thing. Maybe it will become a habit now for her to answer the phone. We'll see. We'll see. My mother doesn't live in this world, okay? Reality for my mother's never really lived in this world. She has a whole different definition of reality.
If she had heard something in the nursing home about there being a lockdown or whatever, you think she'd ask that question. Mm-hmm. But his mother won't ask a question.
Well, my mother has a philosophy about life. Out of sight, out of mind. If you don't ask, you don't know, and you're happier for it. And maybe in some ways, ignorance is bliss. I don't know. So, whatever. One thing is, I know she's probably in a situation, although they're high risk in there, the way they're handling it, professional caregivers, the whole bit, probably better there than if she was living on her own or whatever. So, what would happen if if we actually contracted this disease and my mother was living on her own and not in a nursing home, and we couldn't get out for her, and say my sister couldn't either. That would be a lot of problems with that kind of thing. But fortunately, that is not a problem we're going to have to worry about. Laura says we're still on the upswing with Ontario's viruses. Yeah.
She also asked if we were still going on the cruise.
Oh, yes, we're coming. Yeah, okay, well, let's talk about
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute. But anyways, let's talk about some of the closures, too. Now, in all the years that I was teaching, and I have never, ever seen the school system actually close down for anything except for the usual holidays. And so this is unprecedented, but in Ontario, the kids are getting a 3-week March break. And rightly so. The only thing is, there's a lot of stupid parents. We've discussed this before out there. And these parents now are all getting uptight and the whole thing. What are we going to do with the kids after March break? We can't do. There's nothing open for the kids to go to. There's no daycare. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Well, what did people do back before there was such a thing as daycare? When there was, they looked after their children. That's their responsibilities. Don't get me going on that. You know how I feel about that. So, sucks to be you is all I can say. Oh my God, you're going to have to do parenting. You're going to have to be with your kids for a few weeks. Oh no, jeez. Like really, I don't feel sorry for them. And then all these ones, they showed some. I think a lot of people changed their plans for March break. And that's unfortunate. I mean, and that's leading into talking about what we were going to do and what's going to happen with that at that point in time. But before we get into that, I have a friend who's a teacher, and she was whining on Facebook that she's not going to get to go to Walt Disney World. They closed it, and she can't fly. Yeah. Okay. I get it. But her life isn't any more important than anybody else's life, and her job is not any more stressful than anybody else's jobs out there. So, cry me a river, suck it up. Really. Do I sound like I don't have a lot of sympathy for these type of people? Yeah, that's pretty much right. I don't. So, let's see what's the thing saying here. Laura says, I think you might be right, Stephen. This might make her think, meaning my mother, no one is coming to see her for a reason other than lockdown. Yeah. Poor Lorna, as I always say, facetiously. Chris says, a few of us over here are angry with our government allowing the F1 to go ahead with her and allowing them all into the country and then canceling as 13 of them were put into quarantine due to COVID-19, allowing the F1 to go ahead.
What's the F1?
What's the F1? I don't know what F1 is, Chris. Can you tell me? Especially since they advised they were canceling all group sports. F1, is that... Oh, is that the big... Is that the sailing thing or something that that they give the Aussies the day off for or something, like a holiday?
Formula One.
Oh, it's Formula One. Oh, okay. Yeah, really. This is it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the Olympics. The Olympics is a major, major financial thing in the world for the host country and for those bigwigs who sit on the Olympic Committee who make large, very large salaries, like huge, huge salaries. With that, now Greece has postponed the torch business, handing it over to the Japanese or whatever, and all that kind of stuff. But really, of course, they're waiting because it's not until July, right? So, yeah. What's the answer? 2 extra weeks, Laura says, for the kids. Should the kids not stay home, though? Is that not the point? Should the kids not stay home, though? Is that not the point? Double negatives. I don't understand, Chris. Sorry. Should the kids not stay home, though? Is that not...
The kids are supposed to stay at home.
Yeah. Do you mean during the March break? Yeah. Okay, if that's what you mean. I'm sorry if I'm a little obtuse today, but I'm not fully understanding what you're saying there.
They've advised that no one is supposed to travel outside the country.
Yeah, here in Canada. Yeah. And they've closed down all the March break programs that kids would be normally able to go to because they have March break camps, again. So parents, it takes the place of daycare or whatever. Well, they've closed those all down because those little meat bags are carriers to start with. They're actually saying that the coronavirus probably so far has not really had a major effect on children, especially 10 and under. Although there was one baby that had it or something, it had in the news.
I wouldn't doubt that they'll be carriers.
But yeah, they could be carriers for it. And I mean, anybody who's a teacher knows what those little meat bags bring into a classroom just in regular times, let alone this. Because they start snotting in about October and they don't stop snotting until about April. And it's on everything. It's on the kid next to them, on their desk, on their books, on the teacher. It's just gooey. So, yeah. Hi, Anita. Ohio just closed all restaurants. Bars at 9 p.m. tonight. All schools closed too. Anita, carry out, drive-through, and delivery is okay, I think. Delaware, USA, all schools are closed for 2 weeks. No, the 2 weeks after that the 2 weeks after that so the 2 week contagion period. Yeah. Well, that's why they're doing it for the 2 weeks after March break. They were also saying to people, if you were going out of the country for the March break, then to keep the kids out of school for 2 weeks. So, in a sense, what the government's doing is they're making it so that kids are quarantined, basically, from school for 2 weeks after the March break, just to be on the safe side. And I think that's a good idea with them. Yeah, I feel sorry for anybody that's an American because this is when you really see the difference between the American health system and Canadian health system. Um, it's pretty bad to be the States now, I think, over it all because of what it costs. And now apparently the tests are free, I guess. The government in the States is going to cover those. But I just heard today on something that the States don't have enough kits. And people are flocking to the assessment centers or whatever because everybody's panicking over this. Jody's here. Hi, Jody. Ohio, Anita says, is saying the schools may not open again for the year. Well, what are you going to do with the kids then? They're kids. Of course, mind you, kids today all play their video games anyway, so they're oblivious that there's something called outdoors. So I don't know. There'll be probably if that happens, I'm sure there'll be parents pulling their hair out and going, "I'll take my chances with the virus. Just get this kid out of here."
Apparently, Laura, we have 7 cases now here.
Yeah, Jody, we haven't talked yet about the cruise and that. We're coming to that in a minute. Chris, sorry, meant should the kids stay home as they are higher carriers and less symptomatic? Are they wanting kids to self-isolate and parents to self-isolate with them for the additional 2 weeks? Well, that's a good question. They haven't said. I haven't heard anything. Anyways, here in our country, on our news, linking. They're not talking about self-isolating the kids per se.
They're calling you saying that if you travel outside the country during March break, that if you come back, you should self-isolate for 14 days.
Yeah, and everybody, kids and the parents and that too. I mean, the whole problem with the self-isolation thing is, great idea, and we know that, that's what you should do. But what about the lower income families? Who have jobs where they keep talking about if you can work from home. Well, that works for people in
Actually, Canada has already said too that if you're having hardship, that they'll help you out.
Yeah, they have said that. They've got all these funds that they're going to put in to help out businesses, to help out individuals who, their job and all that kind of stuff. But they're saying this. But what will the reality be? That's the thing. And guess what? Guess who's on the back burner for any of that kind of assistance? It's a good thing we're retired. We don't have children. We don't work. And so there's no hardship for us, apparently. And that's right. Actually, there isn't. But what I'm saying is, what about other people who might be slightly younger than us who are also do not have children? How are they? Because they'll help the ones out, the families first. That's for sure. And how will people get this money, and how's that going to work? They're saying they're going to make the time to collect unemployment insurance much faster. You won't have to wait for as long and whatnot. But it's all government, it's all bureaucracy. So how's that going to work? So I don't know. I trust our government to a certain extent. However, it's just like anything. There's bureaucracy. There's red tape that has to be gone through. So I don't know. So lots of questions or lots of things here. Yeah, Laura says we have 3 to 5 cases in our region here from traveling to the U.S. And he says if you can get one, they want to test you for the flu first, and then on that is on your dime. Yeah, okay. See, that's when it's good to have our health plan. Chris says video games, movies, etc. Parents just have to deal. Exactly, parents will just have to deal because their first responsibility. It's their first responsibility to their children. It is not the government's. It is not anybody else. It's not the school systems or social organizations. They're yours. Deal with it. And that just goes, as far as I'm concerned, with any kind of parent thing. And Anita says, so if you go to the ER, that will run you about $6,000 to $8,000. Holy crap. Teachers have, Chris says, teachers here have had their booked holidays travel plans canceled by travel companies. They're around kids more. Non-teachers are not having travel plans canceled. That's interesting. And Kathy says, that's a real problem. Low-income people, if you don't work, you don't get paid. Yeah, so I can see a lot of people going into work when they might actually have the beginning stages of this virus. But, they've got, okay, it would be easy for them to say, I just got a cough. I just have the cold. I just have a cold. That's all it is. And go in and spread it because they can't miss a paycheck. Because they're probably living from paycheck to paycheck. Our community is preparing lunch kits to deliver to kids during this time. We have purchased food to donate for the kids, prepackaged things. We donated fruit cups. Well, that's interesting. And I think that's very nice. But I also think that's kind of like playing right into these parents, isn't it? Somebody else is looking after their kids for them. I don't know. Maybe if they're a low income family or something like that, I could see that being, helpful in that case. I don't know. Laura says, so far we're getting paid our salary as usual. Yeah, I wondered about that, Laura. I kind of figured they really couldn't stop. Well, they can do anything they want, but that would have been very unprecedented, especially right now with all the whole union business about striking and the whole bit. I would think if the government said, okay, teachers, we've closed the schools for 2 weeks, you're not going to get paid for it, I don't think that would go over very well in terms of the negotiations. Although right now I have a feeling the negotiations might be being put a little bit on the back burner with this virus business. Marcia says, yes, I'm glad to be retired with a pension I can count on and well-stocked pantry, including TP that I already had before this all started. Yeah, same with us. I mean, we're lucky we have pensions that comes in, that's not going to be affected. And yeah, we're kind of the same way. We've got lots of food, but there isn't a food shortage. That's the thing. The infrastructure for getting the food to the grocery stores is not been disrupted.
It means that you don't have to go out for it.
Well, yeah, it means you have. Now, if you were quarantined for 2 weeks, okay, if you were self-quarantined, you couldn't get out and you didn't have things stocked up, well, they're saying, and they're talking about that on the news too, they're saying, you can get it delivered. Like there's a lot of the grocery stores now, you can go online, order the stuff, and they bring it to you, and most times it costs next to nothing to have that done or whatever. Surely to God, you have people that around you or whatever, or neighbors or something that would give you a hand who might not be,
Yeah, but if you're quarantined, you're not supposed to be in.
Well, you put it on the doorstep and they get it. Run, drop it and run. I don't know. Ring the doorbell and play Nicky Nicky Nine Doors. And let's see. I'm just catching up. All people returning from overseas have to self-isolate for 14 days. There are big fines here for people who have been advised to self-isolate and are caught out and about. 13,000 Aussie dollars each time. The one thing I admire about Australia is that they don't beat around the bush. When it comes to doing this stuff, they say it like it is, and they do it, and they make it stick. In Canada, they go, well, we highly recommend that you self-isolate, and there aren't any fines if you don't, or anything like that. But, this one thing I've always found with Australia, they're just, the political correctness of things doesn't get to them. They just go for it. I think that's good for them. Kathy says you're getting paid, but you'll probably have to make up the days. Maybe. I'm kind of glad I live on acreage in a rural area at the moment. Yeah, true. Yes, Stephen, our community provides lunches in the summer at church for low-income households. Oh, okay. So I'm assuming, Anita, these things you're doing are for low-income families right now, too. And that, I think, is a good thing. But I'm thinking, the ones who are not considered low income, and it's just becoming a real inconvenience for them to be around their children. Marcia says, healthcare costs in the U.S. depend on your insurance coverage. Emergency declaration here will help provide cash and time off for parents for childcare. No charge for coronavirus testing. Okay. Yeah, the toilet paper thing is crazy, Laura. Yes, not enough tests, but they're coming. No charge for coronavirus testing. Um, Laura says, I just ordered my Instacart today. Yeah. Oh, well. Who knows? Like you were saying that now China is, I'm confused. It isn't wiped out of China.
No, but they've got the lowest daily cases, pretty much, of anywhere. That's what they're saying.
Wow. I don't know. It sounds positive, but it doesn't really mean anything. I don't know. It's playing with statistics,
Yeah.
you know, and
I
that's
mean,
what.
those are the ones that get tested.
Mhm.
Because, I mean, there's probably lots of people around that haven't been tested and walking around with it.
I think the bottom line here is this: if you're reasonably healthy, if you do not have a compromised immune system, you're probably, if you get it, you would probably get sick. Yes, kind of like having a case of the flu, but you will survive. Um, it's
Yeah,
the
but it's sort of hit and miss, apparently. Like, I mean, yeah, 90% of the people that pass away are older folks, right? But they said anyone over 50.
oh,
And
it was over 60 before.
over 50.
Oh,
And, yeah, the more decades up, the more, mortality rate increases, right? The older
Yeah.
you get, right? And not everyone that's passing away has compromised immune systems. There's like other people that are actually healthy that are,
well, there
but
always
they're
is.
not as high a statistic.
But it's, I don't know. I guess.
Well, see, the bottom line too is that more and more cases come up. The healthcare system can't handle it.
Well, yeah. Like our healthcare system here is not prepared for this, but is any healthcare system prepared for it? They keep telling us in our province that, oh yeah, we learned so much when they had SARS and that, and they're all right. They're not. We have hallway medicine in this in this province too. So although we've got a good healthcare system, we still have these problems. Maybe not as severe as it is in some countries in the world, but it's still
Italy
bad.
said be prepared that 10% of all cases have to be hospitalized.
Well, you know, the whole thing is a statistics game.
Yeah, I know. So
We keep hearing numbers. You keep hearing numbers. I guess until it actually hits home with you, like it comes into your life that way. You know, I mean, I'm not belittling the problem with this, but it leaves you up in the air about how to conduct your life and what to do. And so that brings us to our river cruise. So, yes, we have been dwelling on this for a while. And the bottom line is if we canceled by tomorrow, we would lose what? Well, we get about 65% of what we paid back, not including our flight costs and additional hotels that we need. So technically, we would lose about $10,000. It's an expensive trip, okay? The total trip costs about $19,000. I guess I got my stats right because he didn't interrupt me and correct me on any of this right at the moment. So,
Well,
okay, here it comes.
okay. Well, we don't actually have on. We're not on the hook for any hotels right now.
But I am right in saying that if we were
that's
to
about
cancel
right, yeah.
that, okay. So there you are, and we finally had said almost up until about a day ago or so. All right, we're just going to have to bite the bullet. It's only money, you know, it's a lot of money, but and just get what we can back and be done with it. And then it's not hanging over our head. Should we? Shouldn't we? Well, guess what we're doing now.
Okay. Can I do it?
Yes, you can. It's your turn.
So anyway, the cruise company has canceled all of their sailings up until April 30th, but we're going May 17th. So they said that for the ones that go up to April 30th, that they would give you a full refund of the cruise portion, which is not your flight, and or you can get you can book up until December 2021. Am I got it right?
Yeah, December 2021.
Yeah, rebook a different cruise, and they would give you 125% payment
Cruise
Cruise
future
credit.
future cruise credit.
Right. Okay. So for the ones that are going in May, they're saying we've got up until 14 days prior to the cruise. We can change the cruise to another cruise that goes up until December 2021, and they would apply what you've paid so far to the new cruise, right? The only problem I'm having with that is we might do that, but the only problem with that is that what if the cruise company doesn't survive this whole coronavirus thing?
Or what if the cruise company tries to recoup their costs on future fees by upping their prices
Yeah,
more
yeah.
on top of it all? So
So what we're sort of doing right now is just waiting.
you're playing the odds.
We're waiting, and we figured that we can cancel up to 30 days in advance and still get 50% of our cash back. So we're just going to wait, hang in there, and considering that I figure that this whole thing's not just going to blow over tomorrow, so I expect that they're going to probably cancel the May cruises as well.
And there is precedent for this already because we've been watching a lot of YouTube channels that deal with cruising, and they've all been talking about the number of cruise lines that now are not doing any cruising, and that they're giving back the money, full refund or future cruise credit or both in some cases with those. So I figure that this river cruise company, it's a big company, they're going to probably follow suit, but they won't make that declaration, I don't think, until sometime into April or whatever. In fact, they seem to have set their own little guideline. Everybody's cut off for everything seems to be April 30th for some reason. I guess they figure that's a month and a half away, buys more time because things are changing on a daily basis. But this thing is, we don't have a cure for it, do we? And we don't have a vaccine for it yet. And they're saying it's going to take 18 months to develop a vaccine. And I figured they're saying 18 months. I think before, if there is a vaccine developed for it, that by the time that any of us can actually get it, or they put it into a program like here in our province where we get free flu shots every year, it'll be 2 years before you see, that it'll be common ground to get the vaccine for this or whatever. So there's also the possibilities that this could mutate. They were saying earlier, now they haven't talked any more about that I've heard, but they were talking about they don't know this virus could mutate into something else. And I think the suggestion was, and maybe this is why they're not talking about that, because it would scare the living crap out of everybody even more, that it could become something even more dangerous. So they don't know. They just don't know. And of course, what they do know, they're not telling us either. They're holding back a lot of information as well. So, because that's just the way they do things. Kathy says, I heard that about the mutation too. In Australia has advised that no cruise ships can dock here without first having 30 days isolation at sea after they've left the last port. Yeah, again, I think that's probably wise. But do you want to be on that cruise ship at that point? No. In fact, I can tell you this right now. For the last little while, even before this coronavirus thing came out, I've had second thoughts about this river cruise thing. And the reason I've had the second thoughts about it is, one, it is very expensive. Everybody I've talked to have loved river cruises, okay? But the other thing I get worried about is, okay, you don't know whether the water's going to be too high or too low. And I really don't want to pay all this money to do a river cruise and end up as a bus cruise, as a bus trip, either. But, what do you do? So in a way, if we sit here tight and we get our money back, or as much of it as we can, like we're going to take the money and run, as Walter said, if they give that to us. The hell with the future cruise credit. Because as Walter says, you don't know. Is that company going to be in business after that? Because these companies are taking a brutal beating on their bottom line. I mean, they are a business. And I kind of feel sorry for them in the sense that, they've been trying, the big cruise companies have been trying to do a lot for people right now, which I say bully for them. That's really good PR for one thing. And I think it would behoove this particular river cruise company we're going on if they just turned around and they took our money and ran. Because you know damn well right that people are going to get onto Facebook and social media, and that's going to really damage them. In this day and age, social media has a lot of power, as we well know. So it works in their best interest to do what they can do, but how far can they go too? They're a business. I don't know. It's a hit
We
and
have
miss.
trip insurance, but
Yeah.
it won't cover. It covers if we're sick, and it won't. But it won't cover. It won't cover
Pre-existing.
conditions.
Conditions,
of that.
and-
But it will cover if there's a travel ban to a country.
Yeah.
But and because we bought it before all this started happening, so and with all these bans and stuff like that, so it's still covered. Apparently, the new insurance policies that are being issued now have a coronavirus clause in it that they won't do anything if it's
Yeah, of
caused
course.
by the coronavirus.
Because you know how insurance works anyways, right? They love to take your money. They don't want to ever pay out, you know. So, business to be in, I guess. Marcia says, I came back on Wednesday from a Caribbean cruise, no health problems, but also have a cruise planned in June to Alaska. The cruise company sent a letter saying we can cancel up to 48 hours in advance. And will you get your full money back?
It says full credit.
Oh, full credit? Oh, okay, for full credit, not offering a refund. Bought trip insurance on flights. Well, from what I saw today, now I haven't listened to it yet, but there's a guy we follow on YouTube channel who's a cruise specialist kind of travel agent thing. And it looked to me like he's got an Alaskan group cruise booked for in June, I think. And his title on his video, now I haven't watched it yet, basically said, Alaskan cruises have now been all canceled. That's what I have to listen to this and see. I'm not sure, but that's what he was implying. So, don't know yet. So I hope, Marcia, that works out for you. And they
Well, yeah, right now, actually, that might be a problem, depending on where you're leaving from in June, because Canada has now said that no cruise ship can land in Canada up until July 1st.
Well, Marcia is in the States.
Yeah.
And so she'd probably, I don't know where you'd be taking the ship from, out of Seattle? Or, yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. Anita says, there will be lots of things to work out after this. I just want to still be standing when it's all over. True. Chris says, that's great business sense. They should follow that during the crisis. They will have better customer retention by providing better options, referring to Marcia's cruise thing. Yeah, insurance companies are a necessary evil when it comes to these things. But then again, when you really think about it too, when you take out travel insurance, we took out extra travel insurance. And that's another reason why the price tag on this is even higher, because that cost us an additional $800.
900.
Was it 900? Mm-hmm. Oh, it gets worse all the time. So, you know, and as far as we know, we will never recoup the money from that. We're going to try, depending on how the situation works out. But insurance companies, they don't give a shit. Quite honestly, they just, you know, the big three that drive me nuts in our world are used car salesmen, and insurance companies. Oh, and the banks. Yeah, the banks. So anyways, that's where we stand with our cruise. And right now, the way I feel about it is, give me my money, bye-bye. I have no desire to go. Of course, we have another trip planned, and that's within our own country, right after that, in the tail end of June, and that's to Edmonton and Calgary and all that, because that's where we're going for the Canadian National Quilt Show. And if that will exist, that may not even happen,
No.
depending on how far this goes. It may get canceled. So, I mean, I still wouldn't mind going out there, because we were not going out there solely for that purpose, for the quilt show thing. I mean, that's what gave us the impetus to go. But We have a friend out there we'd like to go and visit, and we haven't been out in the West in a long time. But then again, who knows what
Yeah.
they're going to do? Now we have paid for those flights, so
Well, we got one of the flights on points, and then the other one we paid for. But all our hotels have cancellation policies, so I can easily cancel any.
and we haven't paid for any of those hotels
No.
yet either. So it's a little different situation. If we have to cancel that trip, then it's really not going to cost us what it's going to cost us on this one, depending on the worst case scenario in here. So we just sit and wait. It's all we can do. And I'm trying to get my mind around the fact and go, well, okay, that money's already gone. It's kind of out of the budget. So whatever we're able to recoup from it is, bonus, I guess. I don't know. It's
Marcia said they only have one stop in Canada.
Oh yeah. Who's that one stop in Canada? Ketchikan?
Ketchikan.
I've never heard of Ketchikan.
Yeah, it's up there.
That's probably why we've never heard of it. It's way up there. Well, hopefully it works out fine, Marcia, for us all. It's a waiting game because nobody knows. Nobody knows. And I think that's worse than anything else. It's the unknown, right? We don't know, are we going to have a cure for this? We don't know, are we going to get it? Are we going to be short of toilet paper? I said to Walter, maybe what we should do is do designer bum wipes on our embroidery machines and sell them. Reusable bum wipes. Yeah. Well, shoot, what did they do in the old days before there was toilet paper? Well, roots and twigs, I don't know. It's kind of
They
scratchy.
didn't have flush toilets.
No, they just dropped it down the hole and away you go. Oh.
Well, maybe we all should get bidets.
Well, if they hadn't got rid of catalogs, there was always the catalog. Okay. Well, that's save your junk mail, people. Save your junk mail. It may come in use. Oh, some of that's kind of thick though and rough. Anyways, I joke. Kathy says, I will not miss March Madness. Not a basketball fan. Love football and baseball. Yeah, Marcia says, cheer up, guys. Right now, you're alive and relatively well. Yep, I guess we have to focus on that, right? And Virginia says, I threatened to get out a diaper pail for cloth wipes. Or, I don't know if there's been a run on Depends. Well, you still need to kind of wipe up. Oh, well, yeah. And it says, all those political mailings, yeah. I miss curling. It's in the NHL, Dana says, in the Toronto Blue Jays. None of that affects me one way or the other. I could care less. And quite frankly, if they cancel the Olympics too, I don't care. I don't watch them. I might watch the opening ceremonies, but that's about it out of that. So, yeah, for me, it's not a great loss. I don't care. But I'm sure there are many people out there that this is the end of their world, without basketball or hockey or whatever. We have 2 labs working on vaccination over here and believe they will have one in 6 to 18 months, as this also has to be tested. They're the same labs that create the COVID-19 test kits. Yeah, well, that's true, but it's still, 6 to 18 months. A lot can happen in that time, right? So,
Yeah, considering all this sort of blew up at the end of January.
So, yeah, it feels like we've been living with this now for a much longer time than we actually have been. But, so what's it going to be like in another month's time? Who knows? So anyways, real cheery thoughts on all of that. So let's talk about, we know what's coming on TV. Westworld Season 3 starts, I think, tonight on selected state. Well, on HBO. We don't get HBO, though. So I will have to try and get my hands on it next week in other ways. Enough said. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more. And I'm reading right now an interesting book. This is the second volume of it. It's by an American writer called Larry Kramer. It's called The American People. And this one is volume 2 and subtitled The Brutality of Fact. And it's very ironic that I happen to be reading this book right now. It's a really big book. Like, it's 3,000 electronic pages. in your, if you're reading it on a Kobo or a Kindle or something like that. It's about the AIDS and HIV epidemic in the 1980s. And the uncanny thing about it is how what went on in that time period is right now, in some ways, being echoed in this time period with the coronavirus. There are differences, of course, but the book is written from it's factual, but the characters in it are all made up, and the situations, and it borders lines on being almost funny, but it's a black form of humor, but it points out the problems when governments are involved or not involved in things like this, and the social effects and all that kind of stuff. And it's just really weird how this book right now kind of has a lot of things in it that are paralleling what's really happening to us in reality in this time. So I just put it out there. If you're looking for something, it's not an easy read. The style of writing is very different in it. But, and like I said, it's long. It's very long. Not uninteresting, but long. Laura says she just watched the Netflix show Messiah. I saw that listed. Well, of course, Outlander. But Marcia, with Outlander, I started to watch it, and it is definitely something that appeals to females, I think, more so than males. I read the first book years ago. My mother, I think, read all the books. She loved it, and she was watching it on TV when she used to get up and change the channel for herself and stuff like that. She loved it. It's okay. I like anything that has to do with time travel and that, but I just sort of lost my interest in it about through the first season or so with it. So I don't know. Maybe it's one of those shows I need to pick up on again. I didn't hate it. I just, for some reason, lost interest. Marcia says maybe it's time to install a bidet. Yeah. Anita says, I'm not sure I would want a vaccine just rushed through anyhow. Well, that's true too. But I can't help but think that some of the development of vaccines, there's a lot of say that the major pharmaceutical companies have in all those developments. And, pharmaceutical companies aren't doing it for your health. Ironic there, isn't it? They're doing it for the money. So how much influence they have over this kind of stuff, who knows? And I think that's why we've had a lot of drugs, life-saving drugs and things over the years that have been developed but don't hit the market until, it's almost too late, or they become so expensive the average person can't afford them if they don't have a health insurance thing. And even if they do have health insurance, some of it doesn't cover some of these types of drugs. So I don't know. We'll wait and see. So let's talk about cheerier things, shall we? Get off the coronavirus, because I think we're coronavirus to, pardon the pun, to death with that. And let's talk about our sewing retreat. And that was last week. And it was 4 days, from Thursday until Sunday. Where's those wipes? So, what was it all about? Well, it was our local sewing store, our quilt store. They've had one the last 2 years. We went to the one last year, had a blast. And it's about, they had 36 ladies and us, so 38 of us in total. And it's at a retreat. It's actually a Christian Bible camp, kind of a place. That's where they have it every year, and we were there last year. And the accommodation is okay. It's not 5-star, but it's very reasonable.
Sort of an efficiency unit.
Yeah, because our room had like a kitchen counter and sink and a full-size fridge and a microwave. We didn't need, any of that stuff really. We weren't cooking our own meals because meals were included. And so the room is comfortable, and that's fine because we're not in it that much anyways. Most of it is in the big hall at this place. And if you saw my vlog on Monday, I had a little clip of what that looks like. And everybody has a fairly large space for their sewing area. And we take a couple of extra little tables with us, collapsible tables. It gives you a little bit more space to work. And yeah, that's the setup of the whole thing. And the whole idea in the retreat is you work on whatever you want to work on. And of course, I took about 5 projects with me. I got 2 pretty much done. And I showed those 2 things on my vlog on Monday, and I'm going to show them. I have them now completely finished, completely quilted and done in that, and I'm going to show those again on my vlog tomorrow. So if you're interested, you can tune into that at some point in time and you'll see them. And you were madly embroidering flowers.
Yeah, which was a waste of time because they take too long to embroider. And,
So how many have you got done now?
well, I haven't put them together,
Oh,
but I've got 2 put together, and I've got 3 I have to put together.
oh, and then I've got one downstairs. Well, small bouquet. We can always supplement the vase. We're doing this with other fake ones, too. But and you worked on a bag, didn't you?
Yeah, I haven't finished it yet.
Oh, okay. But anyways, it was a lot of fun, and we were sort of the masters of games, because when we went last year, they really didn't have much to do in terms of like ice breaking. I mean, it's a small group of people in one way, but they don't know each other necessarily, all of them. Pockets do, because they've been in the same classes or whatnot through the store. They're all very friendly though. But I suggested to them way back 4 months ago or so, maybe, I could put some games and things together. So they kind of let me run with that, and we put this stuff all together, and they had a ton of prizes. I couldn't believe how many prizes they got for this thing. And so we had scavenger challenge, I called it, where, every hour I would call out, first person to come up and show me a glass head pin or something like that, and they got a prize. Okay. These people were competitive. They were practically knocking other people over to get at me with their glass head pin. So as the time was going on, and since it's a good thing we had a lot of prizes, I kind of changed my methodology. I mean, I didn't want people to feel left out. And yes, it's a bit competitive, but boy, these are probably the same people that have gone into the grocery store and beat somebody up for their toilet paper. I can tell you that. And then we had a silent auction as well. And they earned tickets. And the tickets had numbers on them. And, just like any kind of ticket, it was just those standard little ones you can get at the dollar store pretty much. In fact, that's where I think I got them from. And they have like the same number on either end of the ticket. You take half kind of a thing. So the whole thing was we had about 36 prizes in the silent auction. Everybody was going to get something, okay? That was the premise right from the beginning. But you earned tickets, and then you took your tickets and you put them in these bags that corresponded to one of the prizes. And so let's say you really wanted something, you could put all your tickets in one bag, and we would pull the winning number out of that. Or you could put in 1, or you could put in 2, or 10, whatever. You could distribute it whatever way you want it to. And I've done this at other things before, and it's always worked out pretty good. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, here was the problem. So, everybody put their bids in and whatnot. We did a bingo game before the silent auction opened up so they could earn more tickets. Yeah, that in itself took a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. I had bought, there was a program on the internet where you put in the words you wanted. It was like not a number bingo game, but a word one. Words were related to quilting. You put in a list of words, it would generate a random 100 cards, random 100 cards with these on it. And you had the caller cards, and you just simply, you cut up the caller cards, put them in a bag, pull out the word, and it would be, Granny Patch or something, Crazy Patch quilt. And if they had it on their card, just like in bingo, they'd mark it off. So I had 4 cards on a sheet for each person that we handed out. So 4 games. And my idea was the first game, a row across. Second game, 1 row down. Third game, an X, the 2 diagonals through the center. And the last one would be a full card. And you would win so many tickets for each game. The first game, one row across. I thought it was never going to end. We kept calling them out. And I got down to, okay, who just needs one more word kind of a thing? Well, there were a bunch of them with their hands up. It still took forever. Okay. Second game, one down. Same thing happened. By the time we got to the third game, I was going, no way are we going to spend time on a full card. And so by the time we got to the fourth game, I made another row. But I thought, why is this taking so long? And I still don't know. But I mean, I paid $20 to have these cards generated in the whole bit. So I thought this program knew what it was doing, but I don't know. So then we had the silent auction. Should have been easy. Put one half of your ticket in a bag. Put in as many as you want for any one of the prizes. Up to you. Explain that. Over. Kept telling them, remember, rip the ticket. Put half of it in the bag. Hang on to the other half. Rip the ticket. Put one half in the bag. Keep the other half. What part of this don't you understand? So one of them I'm pulling out and I get a whole ticket. Luckily, the brainiac who had done that had decided to write down all her numbers on a piece of paper anyways. Good thing. And then the other ones, as soon as they won a prize, they decided the game was over for them, back to sewing. They weren't looking at their tickets. We're still going through. So I'm calling that number, 309. Who has 309? Come on, somebody put the ticket in. Somebody's got 309. People, please, 309. Oh yeah, that's mine. I already got a prize. And if you already gotten a prize, we draw again, right? Because you couldn't get more than one. Something that should have taken a half an hour at the most took more like an hour and a half. And it was just, I was pulling tickets for the Stun Bunnies. I'm telling you. Hello? Can you read your ticket? So, if we do this next year, and we probably will, I've already thought about how we're going to revamp this so, one, it doesn't drive us nuts, and two, we get through it a little bit faster. Well, I guess the first time you do anything, there's always going to be bugs to work out, right? Of course, one thing I neglected to tell you was that we were in costume. And if you want to see what that looks like, you have to go to my vlog because there's pictures. We went as our alter egos, Matilda Mudslinger, Gladass Happy Bum. And of course, the plan was I took my little mini portable selfie printer and my idea was if you want, you could have your picture taken with Matilda and Gladass and we'd print it out for you. Little souvenir, right? No charge, nothing like that. It's freebie. I mean, it was costing me some money because the cartridges for that little printer are not particularly cheap, but you know, nevertheless, it's for fun. Well, the owner of the store came up with, and I don't disagree with this idea. I just wish she had bounced it off me before I did anything. I think I inspired her because I said as a joke, yeah, the pictures are free, but we'd be happy to sign the back of the picture for $5 a signature, kind of thing. Just a joke. She turned around and says, yeah, if you want a picture, it will cost $5, but we're going to donate the money to the food bank. Okay, that's fine. I mean, how can I argue with that? It's a good idea. And actually, we raised $100 for the food bank. Actually, 101. Someone gave us a tip. Which was fine and everything like that. But then again, I did sort of pay for all this out of my own pocket.
But mind you, she
Okay, I was getting there. Just I like to build up to a climax. Holy crap, you could never write a book.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
You'd have no idea how to keep anybody in suspense. But anyways, yeah. They had a little mini store. They had a bunch of stuff up there for sale, no tax on it, so it was a bargain. And we bought a few things. Then we got a couple of more things. And when we went to pay for them, the owner just ripped up our bill. Says, no. So that was her way of sort of paying us back for all of this, which was very nice. Because I actually said to Walter, shit, if we'd known she was going to do that, we should have got more. Didn't do bad, though. I bought 2 strip packs that I got for free, and that was $90. And you got, what
Yeah,
did you
$100
get?
worth of stuff.
Yeah, so okay, so between the two of us, we got about $200 of freebies. So I'm not complaining about it. It was just so it took me off guard when she said that. I would have liked to have been more prepared. But anyways, I think they had a hoot with all of that, and I think everybody had a good time throughout the whole weekend. So it's just that we've learned now from our mistakes, and we will do it bigger and better next year. So catch up here on what everybody's saying. Yeah, it's Walter's famous. I've got strawberries in the fridge. I'm going to puree them. And what else is in there?
It's
Just limoncello. Yeah, they're not very high in alcoholic content, so don't want to fall off my bar stool. What else are people saying here? I'm just catching up.
That's a good question. I don't know if our casinos are closed.
Oh, yeah, I haven't heard any of that. And he says, "Oh, you needed some
Laura
wine
said
drinkers."
Ontario casinos were shut.
Oh, are they? Well, I would think so. It
Yeah.
should be. Yeah, I have tickets. Andy says that require them to write their names. Yes, actually, for the silent auction next year, instead of pulling numbers out of that, they'll still earn tickets, but they'll write their name on the ticket, and they'll just all go into one bag, and we just pull out their name. And once they've got, and so that the first name we pull, they get to pick from all of the different prizes first, and so on down the line. And I think that will go a lot faster. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like surprises when I've got things planned. I mean, it was a good idea, but it took me off guard. So anyways, that went on. The food that we had, it has mixed reviews. I think for the most part, it was okay.
Yeah, it was okay.
I mean, you're not going to a 5-star resort, but they did pretty good with it. The only thing that they can't do, but I'm no judge of this. I'll let Walter judge it. They had fish on Friday because it is a Christian Bible camp, and Christians and fish on Friday for some reason. And I don't like fish at the best of times, so I did not have any of it. Even the smell of fish puts me right off. But you tried it, and
It was okay. It was a little bit fishy.
it was haddock, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think it was probably like a frozen product or something because they were all pretty uniform. But it was okay. Like it wasn't anything to write home about.
But that
It was better than last year.
last year's I did
Last year
try.
they overcooked it. It was hard as a rock.
Yeah, because they have like fish and chips idea. It's not truly fish and chips, not in the way you think of it, but that's what they're trying to push it off as. But they have a fantastic salad bar. I mean, I can live just off their salad bar because there's so much variety on it, things to throw onto it. And they had we had 2 meals a day. We had like a brunch at about 10:30 in the morning. So that was your brekkie and lunch combined kind of a thing, brunch. And they had like dinner at night. And there's a ton of food. There's, they don't skimp on it. You serve yourself kind of a thing, buffet style. But it was fine. I like their breakfast. Now, this one lady at our table is complaining because she would have liked for a brunch for them to have had cold meats as well so she could make a sandwich. Well, they didn't really have that. They did have that last year, though.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
But they didn't have that this year. But they had like fruit, like fresh fruit, all cut up and ready to go. They had yogurt. They usually had pancakes or waffles. They usually had scrambled eggs and like hard-boiled eggs that were warm, that they kept in sort of a warm water bath. I had that a lot. I kind of like that. You could have toast and bagels. They had little pastries as well. They had cinnamon rolls there, and you said they were. Well, I tried
Yeah,
one.
they were good.
They were good. And and they had like potatoes, like home fry style potatoes, that kind of thing. And one morning they had this sort of a breakfast pasta kind of thing. It had chunks of ham in it and spiral macaroni kind of a thing and other things in it. I think it was made up from leftovers from the other night, but I thought it was quite tasty. I don't think you had any of it, did you?
No, I didn't.
Actually, I thought it was really nice. I liked it. So, breakfast casserole, I guess, whatever you call it. And they always had desserts. They always had Jell-O. And, Jell-O is something I had as a kid, but as an adult, I would never, ever eat it anywhere. I wouldn't make it to eat it. But I always liked Jell-O as a kid.
I never liked it much as a kid. And then I just had no interest in having any there.
Well, it's delicious if you put fresh fruit. They always had fresh fruit with it, and a dollop of edible oil product. You probably know it better as something like Cool Whip or whatever
Dream
like that,
Whip, I think.
or Dream Whip, whatever the different ones are. But it's an edible oil product. The stuff never goes bad, and they had that at every meal, even at brunch. You could have whipped topping, and I did. And they had pie one day, and they had puddings, and they had cake usually. So there wasn't a lot of different desserts, but different color of Jell-O every day. So
Anita's asking about, I think that's Anita, right? Cheryl.
yeah. Mhm.
About the peanut allergy lady.
Oh yeah, interesting.
Actually, she was sitting at our table last year.
Oh yeah, sitting in our group. Yeah. She was there last year too. Apparently she's allergic to everything. She brings her own food. Fine and dandy. Somebody came in with a bag, something that had a lot of peanuts in it. I don't know if it was a bag of peanuts, because I heard the organizer say to this one lady, she says, you should take those back to your room, because, we have one person here that's very allergic to peanuts and the whole bit. And this lady's kind of looking at her and going, well, she doesn't have to eat it. No, but apparently if she's in the same room as a peanut. However, I did have peanut butter. Not in front of her, but they had it out.
Yeah, but she didn't go to the dining room.
No, she didn't. So, too bad.
Said,
What?
Chris said that Baz Luhrmann, which is that one that...
They're doing well so far, and I said that was the one from International Star working on a film with Baz. Oh, you mean Tom Hanks? What?
Oh, Tom Hanks, yeah.
We had a U.S. International Star working on a film. Yeah, that was Tom Hanks and his wife. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's Baz Luhrmann tested positive.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. So,
Oh.
And his partner.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, well, they'd be around people all the time, so yeah, how can you avoid it? Also, Tom Hanks and his wife. Yeah, that's what we were just saying, because that's what we heard on the news about them too. So, but I guess they're okay. Well, our own Prime Minister's wife's got it, and he's isolating himself for 14 days along with her. She went to a speaking engagement or something in the UK and came home with it. I think she's doing okay. There haven't been any reports she's not, but of course they're in self-isolation for all of this. Anyways, what else happened? Well, of course, we had our little performance. Well, our performance is our entrance in our costumes as our two alter egos. And the women, they were prepared for it this year because they knew something was coming because of last year. And different outfits. Actually, different name, because I must be getting old. The name I had last year for my character is actually Aloysius Mudslinger. And when I was making the little nameplate on my costume and everything for it that we had, because we went sort of as waitresses, it was our Halloween costumes, I changed the name to Matilda Mudslinger, because I couldn't remember. And I've used Aloysius Mudslinger for
me, I remember.
I know, but I don't know how to spell Aloysius anyway, so it doesn't matter with it. And somebody remembered what the name actually was. It says, well, what about Aloysius? And I said, oh, no, this is her second cousin once removed. From it all. No, she couldn't make it. So this is Matilda. You're stuck with Matilda. And what other interesting things happened while we were up there?
Nothing really.
Not really. You're kind of out in the middle of nowhere on this place.
Weather wasn't too bad.
No, weather was actually quite nice.
Well, one day it was kind of cold and windy, but...
Yeah, it was a bit muddy up there with the thaw and whatnot. But we had a really good time, and we would definitely go next year. Now, when we got home, And earlier this week, we were over at the quilting store and we're talking to the owner who sponsored the whole thing and whatnot, Shirley. She's got an idea that in the fall, yeah, we'll see, she wants to do a more upscale retreat for embroidery with machines. And it would probably cost, she was figuring now about $150 more per person than what this one cost. And this one was fairly pricey. It cost us a little over with tax, 400 and some dollars each. So it would put the next one up to over $600. However, really, when you figure out the food, the accommodation, the whole bit, that wasn't unreasonable at all. So I think she wants to take it to a nicer place. That's why the cost would be more. But she wanted to know if we would help her out with that or whatever and plan things. And I don't really know what she has in mind for that. And we said, sure, we would. But I've been going through my head ideas of what you would do at an embroidery retreat. Because an embroidery retreat's a great idea. But when we went to this, we took 4 sewing machines. We both had our embroidery machines and then other sewing machine as well, so that while your machine is embroidering, you can be working on another project. Because otherwise, you spend all your time like this, staring. Oh, thread change. Staring. It gets a little boring after a while. So you got to do something else. So I don't know how it would work in an embroidery thing. There'd be a lot of zombies. Everybody's there looking, just staring. But I've got ideas for little mini workshops, maybe little projects that can be done, tips and tricks, because everybody comes at this from a different level of embroidery skills and how well they know their equipment. So it definitely could be done. I think everybody should be provided with earplugs because embroidery machines aren't that loud, but they're loud. I mean, with that, a room full of them all going at once.
Yeah, like when he was doing announcements or somebody was doing an announcement, I turned off my embroidery machine because it was making too loud.
Yeah, so that might be kind of interesting and fun. But she's thinking about it in the fall. Well, who knows? With this whole coronavirus thing, that may not be happening this year. So I don't know. But anyways, and yeah, I was just trying to think of anything else that stood out on the weekend. Besides us. We gave them lots of memories, I'm sure. Well, so what are people saying here? Chris says, there was a child at my daughter's school that had a bad peanut allergies and they could even go into anaphylactic shock even if she got breathed on with peanut butter. It can be bad for some people. Yeah, well, apparently that's the way this lady is, too.
You know what was funny, though? I could have sworn last year she was at the retreat, too. And I don't recall there being any consideration about peanuts then.
No, they didn't say anything about peanuts then with it. Okay, and we've had this discussion, so I don't need to belabor it. But really, if you're that allergic to something, and you're going to be amongst a whole bunch of people who are essentially not quite strangers, but not quite friends, who, they're people who don't really know you and inadvertently could bring something. We had a snack table, and we talked about this too before. We had a snack table there, and if you didn't watch, many foods that you don't think have anything to do with peanuts have come into contact with peanuts, and they'll have it on the label many times. Or there's peanuts in a product, and they don't put a big warning sticker on it. You got to read the ingredients to find out. So if you're that allergic to things, I hate to say it, you shouldn't be deprived of having a good time, but should you be putting yourself in a situation where you could go into anaphylactic shock kind of a deal? Also, it puts a little damper on things for other people as well. And there were people who I overheard discussions were going, yeah, well, she should just stay home then. Maybe that sounds a little nasty in the whole bit, but I don't know. Also, she seemed to eat a lot of other things, though, and none of them were what I would call healthy, like potato chips. She certainly didn't have an allergy to potato chips. That was pretty apparent, too. But, what do I mean by that? Oh, well, okay. Those nuts in your cheeks, Chipmunk, or are you just happy to see me? I don't know. Yeah, so, I mean, with children, it's different, okay? Because kids are kids. But in high school, they don't put, at least they didn't when I was teaching, they would warn you about allergies and peanut allergies, but they did not have a ban in the school I was in where they said a kid couldn't bring a peanut butter sandwich to school. But by then they're old enough that they can remove themselves from, danger zone kind of a thing. So if you're an adult, I think you'd be even better equipped. I don't know. Don't have a peanut allergy, so I don't understand it. But anyways, what else? Can't think of anything else to talk about the thing. We had a good time though, but when we got home, we were pretty much wrung out. And the stuff we took. We barely got it all in the car. You'd think we were going for a year. But you go to something like this and you're afraid you're not going to have enough to work on. You're going to be bored if you run out. Well, there was no chance I was ever going to get through all the projects I was doing. I certainly wasn't bored. Were you bored?
No.
No. So there you go. Okay. So, well, that's pretty much our time today. So next week, Art Attack. We're actually going to do it this week, but we're a week. Well, can we be a week behind? Not really. But we didn't do one last week. We want to talk about the retreat and everything else. So next week we're going to do an Art Attack. We're calling it Fun with Tags. I said tags. Okay. I don't know what that looks like yet or what that involves. I think we might do a little bit of jelly plate printing and do that kind of thing. So yeah, that'll be next week. We haven't done an Art Attack in quite a while. And Laura says, were there items you did not work on? Oh, yeah. I took 5 things to work on. I only worked on 2. So, yeah, there were definitely things I didn't get to. Laura says, I've got lots of tags, so I will play along. That'll be great. She could be really allergic, or she could be one of those people that like to play on things and have something to turn the conversation back to themselves. You read my mind. Okay? Just saying, I don't know. But the people who usually protest that much about things are usually the ones that are looking for, a little bit more attention for one reason or another. So I don't know. Don't know her well enough to say. Yeah, so it should be, yuppie, fun with flags. Yeah. Oops, sorry, tags. Yeah. Well, there was another word in there too. Get rid of the L. Don't go there. So that's what we're going to do next week. And so I think that's it for today. So keep yourself safe. Wash your hands. Don't shake hands. And don't be hugging and kissing. I have seen people doing that. Well, first of all, I'm not a hugger or a kisser. So, no. But when we were at the retreat, one of the women came up to me. Oh, Steve! And I said, I have to give you a hug. And I says, oh, no, you don't. And I put out my elbow. Went, no, elbows. Thank you. Move on with that. But then we were in a restaurant just before we went to that thing. And when this whole thing got out there, and they're saying not to, keep your distance from people and whatnot. And I'm watching people hugging.
And kissing.
And thinking, oh, people. And even they showed it on the news. Right after Trump turned around and said something about, following the guidelines, wash your hands and stuff, he was shaking people's hands. Yeah, okay. Well, I don't care if he gets it, but, just he might spread it to other people who don't deserve to get it. And don't share keyboards, yeah. Okay, so everybody, as Anita has said, everybody be well. Keep yourself safe. We'll get through this one way or another. It'll just be a nasty memory in sometime in the future, whenever that will be. And next week, come for fun. Mm-hmm. Fun with tags.
Bye-bye.
See y'all. Bye-bye.